Hello everyone. With Tachyon Surge being nerfed, I have seen a lot of people saying there is no reason to farm Tachyon Rifts or the Monica villain sector anymore. So, I just wanted to talk about the Potentiator perk, which is a perk that can drop on gear from these missions and investigate if they are worth using. I have seen on Reddit and other YouTube videos people thinking the perk only serves as a substitute for intensity and only affects the status build-up and not the actual damage. I just want to show really quickly that it does affect the damage you deal, and stacking these perks or maybe getting them as a replacement for your Tachyon Surge can be a good idea and increase your overall damage, even though it doesn't work as you might think. So to prove this, I am going to be using the build you are seeing on screen now. However, I will be showing before and after damage numbers, where this will be the only slot I am changing. As you can see, these different exotics have stats that are nearly identical, the only difference being one extra valor on the plating of the storm that gives 1% extra crit damage, which would be next to nothing when looking at the damage numbers. The only other thing that should affect damage is the Plasma Potentiator perk. I made sure in my testing, as you will see, that the Tachyon Surge buff isn't activating, so it doesn't mess with my testing. So, let's jump into the first clip. We are in a custom harm room with no modifiers and the enemies at 160. As you can see, we are hitting for 12,386 without any crit and 39,346 with a crit with no Potentiator perk. Now let's reload the harm room and only change out the gear that is nearly identical with the added Potentiator perk. I'm just going to take it on and off again so you can see nothing is being affected. We have a 0% increase on all the stats, with the only difference being an extra 1% crit damage because of the extra 1 valor. As you can see, we are hitting non-crits for 14,071 for an extra 1,685 damage. You can also see when our Tachyon Surge buff activates, we are getting no extra damage at all. What is interesting is that's only a 13.6% increase. Our crits have gone up to 44,769, which is only a 13.78% increase. This isn't the 20% increase as advertised. So what's going on here? I think it's only adding 20% extra damage for the portion that is plasma. Unfortunately, I don't have a reliable way of working that out, what that number is. Let's do that one more time, but with repulsors, just to check the maths. So with no Potentiator we are hitting for 7,945. Now let's do the same thing again with the Potentiator perk added. Now with the Potentiator we are hitting for 9,122, which ends up being an increase of 14.8%. While this isn't the 20% you might think, it's still nothing to ignore and a decent damage increase compared to some of the other perks you can get. This storm gear also has a good chance of dropping with high rolled stats. However, I did also find in my testing that this percentage increase seems to get lower the more damage you deal, like it has some sort of fall off. So let's look at this in a practical situation against a boss. So, with just the Norn Stone and Overcharge we are hitting the boss for 247,585, and when the damage buff activates, we hit for 320,077. It's also important to note when you direct hit with a rocket you deal the damage twice, hence why you see both the damage numbers. Now let's change to the Potentiator perk and see what we get.
Don't these guys
This time we get 270,315 with the Lord Stone, and when the damage buff activates for 342,921, which is only around a 7 to 9% increase. However, it's important to know this is happening twice, and also that the damage buff only doubles your crit damage, not your status damage, hence why the percentage is getting lower. So, you can see here all the results from my investigation, showing the damage without the Potentiator perk and with the Potentiator perk, as well as the percentage increase and the total extra damage. So, to conclude, I just wanted to point a few things out. As you can see, we get an extra 45,688 damage per rocket with one Potentiator perk against Maestro, which is not a bad buff to your damage for one perk slot. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to test how they stack, but I think it's additive, potentially adding 45,000 per Potentiator on your build. I personally used 2 on my Iron Man build, which could be adding over 90,000 damage for 2 perks. You can see them in my video where I completed the entire Super Adaptoid mission solo, which you can watch in the description. If you could transfer the Plasma on my build to Cosmic, you are potentially adding another 20% damage from it being Cosmic, but you will need the RNG gods on your side. I will let you judge if you think this is worth it, and would love to discuss it with people in the description. I hope this information will be useful for you guys making your build and help knowing what to farm now that Tachyon Surge buff has been nerfed. Please leave any comments or topics to discuss in the description, and please leave any other things you would like me to test in the description. Thanks for watching.